My questions to the Premier, Mr. Speaker. Certainly, the Sudbury by-election was not without a dark cloud cast over the electoral process. Caught on tape is the discussion between your Deputy Chief of Staff, Pat Sabera, saying to your former candidate, Andrew Olivier, quote, "We should have the broader discussion about what it is that you'd be most interested in doing, and then decide what shape that could take. That would fulfill," that is what I'm getting at, whether it's a full-time or part-time job in a constitut office, whether it's appointments, supports, or commissions, whether it's also going on the executive. We just need to better understand what it is that you most want to do. End of quote. Premier, that sure sounds like a bribe to me, and the OPP obviously.
I'd ask the member to withdraw, and then your time is up. So, withdraw.
Withdraw.
Here.
Speaker, well, again, let me.
The member from Nepean Carleton will come to order, and stop the clock. I will make it clear now. We will have order. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And again, I just want to congratulate the new member for Sudbury and to welcome him to our caucus. Mr. Speaker, he ran a positive campaign in Sudbury. He campaigned on the issues, Mr. Speaker, and he has been and will be a strong voice for the people of Sudbury, and we are thrilled to have him here at Queen's Park. Mr. Speaker, as I have said repeatedly, I have said in public, I have said to Elections Ontario, and I will continue to say, Mr. Speaker, I had in my role as the leader of the Liberal Party of Ontario, I had made a decision to appoint a candidate in Sudbury, Mr. Speaker, and at the same time.
Stop the clock, please. The member from Bruce Grey Owen Sound will withdraw.
Withdraw.
You have 10-second wrap.
At the same time, I worked very hard, Mr. Speaker, to try to keep the past candidate involved in the party. That's what those conversations were about, Mr. Speaker.
Supplementary.
Again, to the Speaker, or Premier, Mr. Speaker, your spokesperson has said, quote, "Any suggestion that anything offered in exchange for any actions is fault." Yet on the tape, your Deputy Chief of Staff clearly says that the new member for Sudbury would actually be very open.
President, Treasury Board, come to order.
As a constituent assistant. That's offering him a government job. Pat Sabera also said, quote, "Let's look at other ways you can be involved," and that some of these other ways would allow Mr. Olivier to meet with the Premier regularly. Premier, honourable members in the past, honourable ministers in the past, have voluntarily stepped down for actions of their staff because it's the right thing to do. Will you, at the very least, demand that your Deputy Chief of Staff, Pat Sabera, step aside?
Thank you. You seated, please. You seated, please. Thank you. Premier.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And as the member opposite well knows, the duties of the Deputy Chief of Staff in my office are separate from the ongoing investigation. They're separate from any role in a by-election, Mr. Speaker. So it is not necessary. And the member opposite also knows that at the request of the opposition parties, there is an investigation going on. The authorities are examining any allegations, and those investigations are independent, Mr. Speaker, of the work that's going on in my office. And as I have said repeatedly, any suggestion that anything was offered in exchange for any action is false, Mr. Speaker. I had made a decision that I was going to appoint a candidate in the
The member from Nepean Carleton will come to order. Second time. President of the Treasury Board, come to order. Second time. Finish, please.
The context in which those conversations took place was the context in which I had decided to appoint a candidate, and any of those conversations were about keeping a young man involved in a party, and quite frankly, I think it's the responsibility of a leader to try to keep people involved, past candidates involved in the party. I think that's part of our responsibility, Mr. Speaker.
Final supplementary.
Back to the Premier. I think the Premier misses the point of the law in this case, and the law is clear. This young man wanted to stay involved in the party. He had indicated that he was going to run in the nomination process again. So he wasn't, as you said in your news conference this morning, a past candidate or a failed candidate, and therefore we could offer him a job. He was actively in the candidate process, and you intervened. And the allegations are, and they're pretty clear on the tape to me, that a job offer was made or other arrangements could be made, and that may very well be found to be against the Criminal Code and against the Elections Act. Now, do you really want to have someone in your office, your Deputy Chief of Staff, that has criminal wrongdoing allegations hanging over her? How can that person possibly serve the people of Ontario when she's so tainted in terms of reputation, and it's hurting your reputation, and it's hurting the reputation of the Premier of the province of Ontario and the office that you hold? Would you do the right thing, the honourable thing, and get rid of this stuff?
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Well, the number of leaps that the member opposite makes in that question is quite remarkable. I made a decision, which is my prerogative as the leader of the party, to appoint a candidate, Mr. Speaker. That decision was made. There was not a nomination race because I made a decision that we were going to appoint a candidate. I decided, Mr. Speaker, that having Glenn Thibeault as the candidate for us in Sudbury was the right decision, Mr. Speaker. I made that decision, and then we tried to keep a young man who had been a past candidate involved in the party. That's what happened, Mr. Speaker. That's what those conversations were about, and quite frankly, I had decided that I did not want that young man to find out that I had appointed a candidate in the newspaper. That's why I had a conversation with him, Mr. Speaker. I wanted him to know that